Fortnite dropped the latest trailer for the new Ballistic update, and I'm worried. Look, I get it, we all want community feedback. It's a good process, but releasing a unfinished 5v5 map and telling players to decide the play space.
Welcome to the first Test Grounds update.
So what is this update giving us? Well, for this trailer, which people are excited about, we finally got a voiceover trailer, which is very much needed when you're giving us this much of a limited game mode, and it needs a certain amount of expedition which you just can't give by putting flashy text on the screen. Well, Fortnite would like you to think that these are unfinished maps, but really, by the looks of it, I think they're pretty done, to be fair.
Where we give you early access to new maps and items.
So first off, what do they say about these so-called shell maps?
Introducing shell maps. These are unfinished maps where your feedback will help us develop the play space and match flow.
Which is all well and good, but then in the same paragraph, you then end up saying this literally afterwards.
First up, Hammerfall, featuring iconic landmarks, tight spaces, and long alleyways.
Fortnite, that's the play space.
This map will push your gunplay skills to the limit. Next is Storm Chaser. Storm Chaser is a traversal playground, meaning the sky is the limit for utility.
And I hate to say this twice in almost the same sentence for me, to be fair, but that's also the playstyle. You're expecting people to utilize their utility more than their weaponry. Shockwaves, smokes, and whatever else you may add into the game. This person is using a shield bubble because there's too many vantage points. It's a very open map. If people don't like this on Tuesday, you're going to turn the entire map into something else. Like, in my opinion, competitively, that's the point of 5v5 maps. They are meant to offer different things and utilize different aspects of the game. If I'm watching Call of Duty, for example, I expect professional players, or even players who are just trying to enjoy 5v5, to be tested in different elements of the game. They're not all meant to run the same, and this is the problem. People have played in that first map a lot. Was it called something 10? I can't remember. But people are going to expect the next map to play like that if they are deciding how they want the game to play. Because that's the only map they've played of this. You are delegating to play Fortnite. I'm not going to say that you're not. You are. So what are you even asking the community to do here? Paint the walls? You haven't even given us a half-built car and say, tell me how it drives. Build it. You're literally offering us a fully done car, but maybe without the seats and the steering wheel. But you need seats and a steering wheel in order to drive the game anyway. So what are you really trying to do here?
These are unfinished maps where your feedback will help us develop the play space and match flow. Tight spaces and long alleyways.
So on the one hand, you want to offer us a map with tight spaces and long alleyways. But in this little UEFN segment, you show possibly cutting one of these long hallways to completely change the flow of the map. But the point of 5v5 games in general is to learn how to play them and to utilize that space that is given to you, not delegate it. So honestly, I feel like you've completely lost your vision of what Ballistic was meant to even be. Honestly, I feel like going back to a point I made in my last video because of this section here.
Your feedback, we can shape the future of Ballistic.
Playing user-generated games, I believe that Fortnite currently doesn't really want to do anything with Ballistic, so they've developed the game mechanics and rather allow creators to build their own Ballistic maps. Because what are even the answers to these questions anyway? Which of the following features do you like about Fortnite Ballistic? How Epic communicates with players, how is that helping develop the map? And sprinting is a core mechanic. Now, don't get me wrong, if the other map, which I now think I remembered is Skyline 10 or Skyline 11, say if there was an issue, say if the player base was like there needs to be a shorter cut through to one of the points because point A gets an advantage on point B. That's obviously playing the game for a little while and realising there is an actual core issue with the map that doesn't encourage positive gameplay. And that's fine, that should happen. But why has Fortnite packaged these shell maps like this? It's almost as if Fortnite is taking a completely different opposite approach to what they did with Rocket Racing. That's got loads of maps, barely any players now. They kind of didn't start with a core foundation. They just thought the more the merrier, basically. In terms of Ballistic, one map for God knows how many months. Now we're getting two maps when they haven't painted the walls. You know, Ballistic shouldn't ever have more than 10 maps in rotation at any one time if we end up eventually having 10 maps. So maybe we shouldn't even have creator maps because they could probably split the player base as well. I think while we don't need to worry about splitting the player base in terms of BR, we need to worry about it in terms of Ballistic. But hopefully this is a placeholder feedback questions, because this doesn't really help curate any ideas about play space, movement, combat areas, spawn zones, objectives, cover. Oh no, this is what the YouTube description says. Test grounds will allow you to play test out maps in development, which will often be without environmental art. This will allow us to quickly make changes to the map layout based on your feedback. With the kickoff of Launch and Shell maps, we're introducing 2 new locations, Hammerfall and Storm Chaser Cove. Hammerfall will focus on tight spaces, long corridors, and train your gunplay abilities. Storm Chaser Cove will allow for creative match tactics and help strategize fresh ways to play Ballistic. I guess it's not entirely contradictory to ask players to develop the map even though you're sort of really forcing a gameplay type on them. It's like, you have the power, but here's how we want you to play this map. These maps are already developed with a vision in mind. So would Fortnite even allow us to completely change the vision of the map and run the risk of every map being too similar in tactical? I'm all right with developers setting a tone and players' feedback, making the developers go, okay, maybe we need to change this, but that can happen anyway. Even with the map we have now, Skyline 10 or whatever it's called, it doesn't have to be unfinished. I think it's been played enough now by the community that if there was any problems, they should have come up by now. Maybe they're leaving enough room for small changes to happen, but of course Fortnite are still setting the tone here with these 2 maps, Hammerfall and Storm Chaser Cove. But while I can complain for the next 30 minutes about them releasing these shell maps, there is some good changes coming in this update, a brand new sniper that we haven't seen before as well, and a new utility item in Overdrive Nitro.
Let's talk about the new gear coming to this update. The Sovereign is a lightweight sniper rifle built for mobility and speed. With a cheaper cost, this will provide you with a strong long-range weapon in those earlier rounds. And finally, Overdrive will boost your move, reload, and weapon swap speeds. Also, you can get the upper hand. This is just
now, I love a good sniper, so of course I have to wait till I use it in game to see how good it is, to see if it's a one-shot sniper and you have to reload it, or you can reload it quicker. But if I can't reload it quicker, at least I got the Overdrive, which looks completely broken. I can't wait to use this thing, quicker reload and weapon swap speed. And of course, my favourite, it increases your move speed. But hopefully this will be a smooth transition, releasing these 2 new maps and hopefully listening to feedback and coming up with a well-rounded map. But with 10,000 active concurrent players that Ballistic gets most days, I worry if Fortnite's going to be able to filter them down to be able to curate a map where it suits everyone. This is the major problem with every single update Fortnite has ever done, with BR, competitive, ranked. They're trying to please everyone and you just can't do that. So why are they giving the community in Ballistic the option here? This happens anyway. One example is when people say Fortnite doesn't listen to me. What do you even mean by that? For example, the rec season. There would be a handful of the community that enjoyed the cars and there'd be a handful that didn't. So if the cars remain, you're not being listened to? No, they've taken both sides of the argument and decided to stick with the cars. That's their decision. If the drum gun's too powerful, in your opinion, but not in other people's opinion, and they take the opinion of it's not too powerful and they leave it in the game, and they're not listening to you again. Or the corridor's too long to position A, it should be a little bit shorter, but people say, oh, that's a perfect length, leave it as that. Honestly, it's a little bit silly in my opinion, but maybe you guys have a different opinion. And that's what happens. We all come together and try and balance it out, which is difficult. And that's what I'm saying. Anyway, comment down below what you make of this. Hit the like button if you did enjoy this one. And guys, until next time, it has been your boy, Mr. JLY. If you did enjoy this video, you may enjoy this one.